What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, oh man, I'm pretty sure we all saw this day finally coming, but it is finally over for Battlefield 2042. I think the developers are finally coming to a conclusion that the game is pretty much toast. Now, again, this does not mean that development is going to stop for the game. They still have made promises of content, which, obviously they could still, completely avoid, but it would give EA completely bad reputation. So we will at least see one content drop with probably some updates, because obviously EA doesn't want to pay these devs just to sit around, so they're going to make them do something. But other than that, I think the community have established their opinions on the direction they try to take with Battlefield 2042. Because as we see here on this tweet by Battlefield News, there will no longer be 5 featured Battlefield 2042 playlists, as there are not enough players to fill them. There will now be 3. This is honestly hilarious to me, because this game didn't even release with a good amount of playlist or game modes to mess around with in the first place. This game was very, very, very bare bone. We had Conquest and we had Breakthrough. Now, of course, you can go ahead and play Portal or Hazard Zone, but as we all know, Hazard Zone died within 5 seconds, and Portal, it could have been so much better, but it's based too much off Battlefield 2042. Based way too much, that even the older games resemble Battlefield 2042 in some way, shape, or form, and it's just disgusting at that point. But every single day, I thought I was going absolutely nuts, because I was posting gameplay for you guys. I was telling everyone that my lobbies are dead. I can't find any players. Every single game is filled with AI. It takes about 15-20 minutes just to get a complete lobby, and by then, one team is already getting overly stomped because they have more bots than the other team. It's a completely unfair experience. It's horrible. It kills every game mode in the game because nothing will fill up right off the bat. And bots ruin the overall experience because they absolutely suck. So whoever has the most bots on their team gets your fate. And daily, I always saw people saying, "Oh, you're lying. I find full lobbies all the time." And I'm just wondering, how do you get it? I need this type of gameplay. And initially, I think it's just last gen that has it a little bit better right now, because they don't have the option to switch over to 120 plus players. They are stuck on 64. There's no other alternative. So finding lobbies is a bit easier. But on the next gen and PC version, since 128 players was so garbage this year, which it shouldn't have been, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but since it was so bad, they basically went ahead and put the 64-player version into the game as well. And I'm going to tell you right now why this completely flopped, and why it's killing off all the players, and they had to go ahead and remove these game modes, because they didn't allow us to play with last-gen players. It's the most simple, logical thing out there. The main differences, basically, is yes, a little bit performance issues, but basically the main difference, the advertisement point of the differences of last gen and next gen, is that next gen gets 128 players and last gen gets smaller maps on 64 players. And now that they officially added in the last gen version over to next gen, we all thought, hey, we're going to be able to finally play with our friends on last gen. It's about time. This should have been in at day one, allowing next gen to be able to play with last gen. And they didn't do it. So basically, the already dead next-gen platform just got even more dead, because now the game modes are split into 4 to 5 instead of just 2 to 3, and they didn't allow last-gen to cross over as well. Like, truly, what did the developers think would happen if they add 2 more game modes that, once again, require a pretty chunky player count in a game that's already consistently dying? There's no progress coming into Battlefield 2042. Every single week, the game is losing more and more players. Shoot, even during the free-to-play weekend that this game had, it lost more support in the free-to-play weekend than it did when the game just initially launched. It's insane how little people enjoy this game. So they think that splitting the player base 2 times as much without allowing us to play with the other individuals who can play on last-gen 64 players was just absolutely stupid. And it really worries me, because the developers currently aren't too bright. And I could totally see them thinking that, oh, the game is doing horrible, we can't fill lobbies because it's 128 players. We should just go back to the old formula of 64 players and it will work so much better. No, it's not that, and I don't want them to take away this idea and concept. The best part about Battlefield is the all-out warfare battles. Having 128 players was not a bad idea, they just executed it poorly. The map designs were absolutely awful. And again, the game was just so boring, dull, had such a lack of content, and just was littered with more bugs and glitches that you could possibly imagine that nobody wants to play it in the first place. So increasing the player count to 128 for at least Battlefield 2042 just did not work out in the long run. But it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. I wouldn't even mind seeing Battlefield games reach up to 200 plus players, 300 plus players, 400 plus players. Who knows what's going to be like when technology finally evolves. I already saw different versions of engines that are trying to actually craft the whole world that we live on in detail, allowing developers to actually go in and take a real platform, one-to-one exactly alike, and building a battleground around it if they truly want to. It's going to be insane what the future holds for FPS titles. But Battlefield isn't quite there yet to be able to push the boundaries of the player count just yet. And it doesn't come down to the technology we have nowadays. Not even in the slightest. It comes down to the developers behind the game. I don't know if too many people even remember this game, to be honest with you. I absolutely loved it, and I played the hell out of it. But it was a game on the PlayStation 3 called MAG. And it was an FPS game. I forget how many players. It was definitely over 200 players. I think 250-something players were in every single lobby. And this was on a PlayStation 3. And that game played a million times better than Battlefield 2042 could ever possibly imagine. And I'm going to say it again. It was on PlayStation 3. Technology has nothing to do with the player count that we're seeing today, and really pushing the boundaries of war has nothing to do with it. It truly comes down to the developers behind the game, and if they know how to design a game around that specific player count. And so far, the current DICE development team just simply doesn't know how to do that. So guess what? We can't fill up lobbies, and that they'll remove game modes from the game, which honestly, in my personal opinion, is extremely sad because I literally see the easiest alternative ever in the whole universe right in front of our eyes. Just allow last gen to play with next gen on 64-player lobbies. It will literally populate the servers in a heartbeat. And again, I don't care about the game. It's not enough to bring me back to the game. But anybody who actually enjoys this title, who is struggling with the constant decline of the player base, who actually want to, be able to enjoy this game and get their money's worth, I don't know who out there is truly enjoying this game that much, but if you are one of them, this whole situation can't be any fun. What I think DICE should do right now is remove 128 players. Don't remove 64 from next gen. Just remove 128 players. They're already reworking all the maps again. So when the maps are reworked, when they're redone, bring it back. Bring back 128. I'm sure the community will come back and give them a shot. It will be some hype behind it. Not crazy enough hype to, get massive waves of people to come, but you will be able to fill up 128 player servers when you do bring back the maps. And just allow the main base, the people who are still trying to grind out this game, to just play on last gen servers. Fill up the 64 players lobbies. It's half the player count of 128, so it's going to be much easier to fill them up. And mixed with last gen will allow the player base to at least double in size. And even if doubling in size isn't that much, it's still better than absolutely nothing. Because keep in mind, there's still no server browser in this game, so you can't even have a specific server. For example, in more slower games, when it comes to player base standards, like Battlefield 1 or Hardline, for example, games that are a little bit older that struggle from time to time. Not all the time, they do fill up on the occasion, but they do have their off seasons where there's not that many players. But even in those off seasons, I can still at least find one lobby, at least one lobby that I can play normally on a regular rotation and have a good time. You can't do that in Battlefield 2042. It kicks you out after every single game. You can't get that good core experience. So just go ahead, cut 128 players, connect last gen to next gen on 64 players, and everything will be resolved in an instant for you. And then you'll have all the time in the world to go ahead and rework the maps and try to make 128 players better. And hopefully, you guys will all take notes for the next Battlefield game after this massive disaster. But ladies and gentlemen, do me a massive favor, go down in the comment section and let me know if you're still out there grinding out some Battlefield 2042. And if you are, how are the servers looking right now? Are they getting a little bit more populated? Has there been more players? I truly have not touched this game in a while now. I've just at this point given up. I'm tired of versing bots. I'm tired of the just lack of support at this point. And I guess my main point that I'm going to return will more than likely be around Season 1 or when any other massive update comes into the game, which is probably not going to be anytime soon. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like. If you hated it, leave a dislike. Also, if you're brand new, enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. Also, want to chat with me, there's 2 ways to do so. Twitter and Discord, both link down in the description. And also, want to catch me live streams of video games over on Twitch. Link that is in the description as well. But guys, thanks so much for tuning in. See you on the next one. Peace out.